with the Wheel of Time and Mrs. Sidhu.
That is our first look at Verin in season 2 of the Wheel of Time. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again, and today we're going to be going over and discussing our first look at Verin in season 2. Not only that, we're also going to be discussing in today's video how the news was first announced, Verin's season 2 story and the differences within the show and the book. Also, we'll be talking about Meera Syal and just her acting credentials, and then I will be giving you my final thoughts on this all. So, the news was broken through Nerdist.com. On May the 12th, they released an article on their website confirming the fact that Meera Syal was playing Verin in season 2 of The Wheel of Time. 2 days later, on a UK TV channel called the BBC, there was a Bafta Awards ceremony taking place on the channel, and it was within this that we got a 2-second clip and our first look at Verin in season 2. Now, just kind of looking at this 2-second clip and what we can get out of it, I've seen a lot of kind of talk and speculation, particularly after the fact of this 2-second clip dropping, that they believe she is in Tar Valon because of what's in the background in this shot. Now, I understand where this comes from. I myself am still a little bit skeptical on that. I know things match up, but for me, that still isn't confirmation of the fact she is in Tar Valon. Yes, it might make sense from a kind of logical standpoint, but there's a lot of kind of things that are out of place within the story in terms of book to TV, in terms of where characters are, in terms of what the character stories are, and that is something we're going to be discussing very shortly in the next portion of this video with regards to Verin and her story in season 2. And I believe a certain someone is going to have an impact on how Verin's story is kind of written for this second season. But all in all, I think this is the introduction scene of us in the second season of The Wheel of Time, where we will be first introduced to Verin. It just has that kind of natural look and feel of, you know, we are lowering our hood, we're revealing a new Aes Sedai, and it just happens to be Verin. And I think that is what is at play here. So, moving on, let's now discuss season 2 story with regards to Verin. Now, as I just mentioned, I believe there is a couple of factors at play here with regards to how they're going to be shaping her story, because as we all know, certain individuals, including herself, are not currently in the areas within the books that they were, and so they're having to, or I should say the show writers and runners, they've had to create a new, kind of story, albeit one that doesn't necessarily disrupt the main arc and the main story as a whole of the Wheel of Time, where they can bring everybody back into play. And so I think the main character that we already have been introduced to in season 1, which is going to have a big part in which direction Verin's story goes in, is that of course of Moiraine. Now, as we all know, at the end of season 1, she is shielded at the Blight by Ishmael. She let Rand go on his own way, and then of course she's naturally now going to make her way out of the Blight, back down to Valdara, and then of course through there make her way to Tar Valon. And then I think her story is naturally, as we already know is the case, is going to kind of some way, maybe in the midpoint of the season, kind of get to Kerhayan, her hometown, and this is kind of then what's going to be at play here. And this is where I think all these kind of places and plot points are kind of going to kind of mesh together. Now, what I think is going to happen, of course, as the fact of the matter is Moiraine is now shielded, and she goes on to kind of look out and search for 2 particular Brown Adja members. Those 2 are, of course, Vandin or Vandene and her sister Adelias Namele. Now, those 2 are being searched out by Moraine in the Great Hunt book for a couple of reasons. One, at the time in the book, Moraine was on a kind of quest for knowledge around and surrounding the Dragon Reborn and his, various prophecies. Now in the show, it is not too far-fetched an assumption that they're going to take that particular storyline and move that over to Verin. And of course, with this being the case, which they potentially could do, they could add in a secondary kind of reason why Moraine goes to Verin in seeking her out. And that is, of course, to do with how she can get this shield which is blocking her from the one power kind of taken off of her. So kind of dispersing the weave which has put her in place. And I think that is kind of what I believe the showrunners are going to do. I think it's the most logical way of using Verin at this point in time. Of course, now this is spoiler territory, massive spoiler territory. So if you haven't read the entire book series as a whole, I'm now giving you a fair warning. I'm going to get into some massive overarching plot points with regards to the Real Time story as a whole. So you've been warned. But as we all know, I don't think this is going to have any effect on Verin's kind of main plot, which is of course her being a member of the Black Ajah, and how she goes about finding out every single member of the Black Ajah before giving all this information to Egwene much later on in the story. I think that particular plot point is still going to be at play here. This is something that's going to be kind of maybe kept hidden off camera for the most part. And then secondary, because there is a vast number of characters within the novels, it's highly unlikely we're going to get every single Aes Sedai that plays a role, whether it be in a big or small role within the show. And I think they're having to move parts and stories from certain characters and bring them to others. And this is where I think Verin's story is going to be having additional plot points put in. I think they're most likely going to be getting rid of the two Brown Ajah sisters and moving their stories over to Verin, because I think as a kind of process of elimination, they're not going to have loads of time to bring kind of actors to play these characters that have kind of bit parts, within a kind of season by season play here. I think that's what's going to be at play here. And then of course finally this all plays into not only Verin's story but also Moraine's journey. This journey we hear she will be going on within the second season. So now we move on to the actress playing Verin, and that is Meera Syal. So just very briefly to go over some of these sorts of shows and films and plays that might be recognisable to you. These are what she's been in, as you can see on the screen right now. So she's quite an accomplished actress. She's been in loads of shows, loads of film, and she's portrayed a wide variety of characters from different walks of life and within different stages in their life. So she has a lot of experience to pull on when it comes to portraying Verin. And as we all know, people always pull from their own personal experiences within their lives as a way of forming their character. So she has a lot of that in abundance. So yeah, there you have it. That is a look at Meera Syal and what she has been in thus far. So yeah, I think this news overall was really exciting to see at the time. And I have to say, just the way they've kind of transformed Meera into looking like Verin, I think they've done a great job with it. She looks very much the part to me. And I cannot wait to see her kind of get to grips in how she portrays Verin within the show. Because as we all know, in the book series, she can at times come off as someone who is very kind of airy and flighty, and it's just the way she likes to kind of portray herself. But she has a very keen and sharp and witty mind behind that, and she doesn't show that to a lot of people. It's only when you get to know her and spend a bit of time with her through the book and through other characters' POVs, that do you get a real sense of who Verin is as a person. So yeah, I cannot wait to see her in action, to see what the stories she's going to be involved in, as there's going to be changes, as I mentioned. So yeah, I'm looking really forward to that. I think it's going to be one of the one of the main interesting plot points when it comes to new characters in this second season. And I think she, as an actress and also as a character, quite naturally is going to have a big role and is going to have a big impact on the community as a whole. So yeah, thank you all for watching, guys. That is the video. Hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, leave a like in the comments. Leave a like on this video, and if you have any comments, let me know down below. Right guys, I'll catch you all in another Wheel of Time video next week.